Hey guys, welcome back to day 8 of our 100 Days DevOps and Cloud Challenge, where we are going to talk about Docker architecture. We are going to talk about Docker architecture components, what we are having like client, engine, registry, Docker host. Also, we will talk about Docker files in detail, how we can write the Docker file and how we can create the images out of this Docker file that we can run to create containers. Along with this one, we will talk about the common use cases of Docker that you can use. And in the last, we will talk about the advanced topics related to Docker that can help you to scale up your Docker knowledge. So without wasting time, let's get started. Now it's the time to understand Docker architecture components and its workflow. So how Docker works, we will see in here. So first thing we need to understand what are the core components any Docker is having. So normally we are having three core components. First component is Docker host that you can see here. What it consists and what exactly it is. It's a core component of Docker which contains everything which is necessary to run and manage Docker containers. That means here there is a one component called daemon that is the brain of Docker, and it helps everything whenever it comes about the execution. Either it is building, either it is pulling the images, either it is running the images and creating containers. So everything, every task is done by this Docker daemon. So what it do? Whenever there is a pull request, it will pull images from the registry and then it will run those images. Next component we are having Docker command, which actually interacts with the Docker engine to create, run, or do anything what is needed for the container. So it can also communicate with the remote Docker host as well across different platforms. So what exactly it is? It's a second component client, Docker client. As if you gone through the yesterday session where we checked if Docker is installed properly or not through some command. So that command line interface you saw, that is actually the Docker client where we give the instruction or we run Docker commands. So that is our second component. Next is Docker registry. Here you can see third component, that is Docker registry, where actually our images are stored. So before running any new images, we need to pull it from registry. So this is how the Docker architecture components are divided. These are three: host, client, and registry. Let's check the workflow of Docker. So for example, you can see three components here. These are the same thing. The only thing you need to understand these dotted lines. So if you want to build an image from Docker file, right? You need to run this command Docker build. So what it will do, it will go to through the API to Docker daemon. Then what it will do? It will check the images here. Okay. It will build the image here. So if it is not created, it will create here whatever image we specify in through the build command. Now let's run the Docker pull command where it need to pull it from the registry, right? So you can see this time this type of dotted line is coming from the registry. So once it will come to this Docker daemon, every command which is going from Docker client to host, it is going through the API, that is REST API. So it is going from here and then it is pulling that image to our local local system. Then only it will run. So whatever platform you are using, where it will pull this image from the registry. Next thing, Docker run command. Okay. Once we pull the images, then we can run the Docker image. So here you can see different type of Docker dotted lines are here. So what it is doing? It is running this particular image and creating the containers here. So on the same host, it will create the container and container will run on the same host. So whatever command we will put here in the client, it will first go to Docker daemon in the Docker host, and as per your command, it will check if it is need to perform from the local host itself or it need to pull the images from the registry. So third component will come into picture whenever we need to get images or we need to push images from the Docker registry. So this is how simple we can define the Docker architecture. Now let's understand Docker images, what exactly it is. Docker images are, as I already mentioned yesterday, that these are the read-only templates which is used to create Docker containers. How we need to create Docker images, we will see in next slide from the Docker file. Each image consists of one or more read-only image layers that build upon each other to form a complete file system. If you want to create more than one layer, that you can do it within inside a Docker image itself. So it can start from a base image. Top of that, you can write down the instruction what it need to follow for the container when it will be created. If you want to copy anything, you can do it. If you want to run any particular command, you can do it. You can also specify what ports need to be open to communicate with that container. So everything you can mention in the Docker file. Once you will create the Docker image from the Docker file, how we need to create that we will see definitely. Yeah. But we can define everything in a Docker file, then we can create these Docker images. So once you will run these Docker images, your container will run. Next thing, before running any Docker image, you need to pull it into your directory, okay, current directory, then only it will run. So how you can pull it? You can use a command called docker pull command. Even after creating, if you want to push it, you can push it to docker registry. There you can have a public or private registry according to your need. But whenever you need to run any Docker image, first you need to pull it, then you can easily run it. Otherwise, once you will run it, first it will search in local directory. If it is not available, then it will by default check in the Docker hub registry. Next thing, as we already discussed about Docker tag as well, this command can be used to provide additional metadata such as the image version or registry location. It's like a common text that is useful to understand as a human being what is about this images. So we can define that thing also. So this is how we can pull the Docker image and we can run it. Next thing, if you want to create your custom image, that also you can create it. So that is what we are going to see in our next slide, where we will create this Docker image from the Docker file, where we will use the Python base image, and top of that one, we will provide some instructions that need to be followed by the container. So you can create your own Docker image using the Docker file, which contains instruction for building an image from a base image. And which command you need to use? You need to use docker build command to building an image. If you want to run any image, you need to run docker run command. So this is how Docker images are structured, and these are the few important commands which I mentioned here, like docker pull, docker tag, docker build. Commands can be used to work with the Docker image, and you can also run these images to create containers. So these are the useful information related to Docker image. Now let's understand Docker file. So what exactly this Docker file is? This Docker file will be used to create a Docker image. So here I have given an example of this image. Here you can see few lines are written, or we can say it's a instruction in our Docker file. Once we will create or build the Docker image, it will follow these instructions. Okay, so let's understand what it is representing. So it will be helpful to understand while you are creating your custom image or you are using any existing image, and then you can make the changes out of that one. So here you can see first line itself, it's spelling, it's starting from. So which actually specify the base image which we are going to use. So here we are going to use Python, and 3.11 it's a version of this image. This is the base image. Top of this base image, what it is doing? Next instruction is talking about the work dir. What it is representing? It's representing the working directory inside the container. So in this case, we are setting the working directory to /app. Next, you can see the commands called copy. Here also, we are having two commands with the name copy. So what it is specifying? It's a instruction. So this copy instruction copies file from the host machine to the container. So where is the host machine? Here. Okay. So in this case, we are copying this. requirements.txt file and the app.py file, right? Where we are copying this file? We are copying this file to from host machine to the containers. So once the container will be created, these files will be automatically copied from your host machine to that particular container. Next command you can see it is showing run command. This run instruction runs a command inside the container. So this what it will do? It will help you to, or we can say help containers to understand which command they need to run after they create it. So here we are using install command to install the dependencies which are listed in the requirement dot text file. So first what we did exactly. First we copied this requirement dot text file to the container. Then we run this pip dot install command on this requirement file because it is copied and available in the container. So now understand the last line, that is the command. So command instruction actually specify the command that will be run when the container starts. So these are the things, and it will run in sequence. So it have each line here it is mentioned, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Here we are having 6 lines, or we can say 6 instructions. So these are kind of a layer for our Docker images. So once the Docker file is created, you can build the image using this following command. So what we need to do, first we need to write these instructions, create the Docker file, save this Docker file with YAML extension or .yaml, whatever you want to choose, you can do it. Once it is created, then you can run a Docker build command. What is Docker build command? Build command. For example, we are going to save this image like my app. Then we need to define the name of that one. So this is the thing, and we want to save it in our local directory. Okay. So this is how we need to run this command. Actually, we will see in our hands-on how it will be created from a Docker file. So what it will do, it will create an image called my app. Now what we did, we took the base image as a Python 3.11. After that, we want that after this one, it need to execute these all things inside the container. So image is something which is having all the dependency and require library along with the application information. That's why we keep everything in a Docker image. Now after this one, what it is doing, we need to we created the image, and now our image will be my app. If you will search, it will show you your image there, available image. Now you can run this image. So for running this image, you need to run the command like docker run. In interactive way you need to run, then you need to use it, and then you need to specify the image name. So to run image, you need to run this command. To build image from Docker file, you need to run this command. Once you will run this command, your container will be created. So this is the steps what we need to follow from our instruction to run a container. So first thing we need to build, then we need to run. Now it's time to understand some Docker advanced topic that you need to consider if you want to skill up in the Docker domain. So the first topic is networking. So Docker container can communicate with each other using the Docker networking, and we are having 3 different mode to define this Docker networking, how the containers will communicate, if they are on the same host or on the different host, or if they want to communicate with the host. So I have explained in day 6. If you have not gone through that one, then please go through that one. So day 6 video where it's all about container and containerization. So there I explained in detail all 3 modes. Next advanced topic we are having volume. So Docker volume is used to share data between the containers. So it's to talk about the persistent data. So the thing is, you need to learn this thing if you want to skill up your Docker knowledge. If you want, just mention in the comment section. So I'll take another session on this one, the advanced topic. Next advanced topic is security, where it provides a number of features to secure your containers. So for the isolation, it uses namespaces. So we have the option to isolate our environment, and not only for the host level, but also we can isolate at the user basis, like we are having user profile in our Windows machines, right? Similarly, we can have the same in Dockers as well. Next, swarm mode. Swarm mode is a clustering feature like we are having in Kubernetes. It's a container orchestration platform. It's provided by Docker itself, but there is some limitation with the Docker swarm that we will see when we will start our Kubernetes session. So we will talk about different container orchestration platform. So at that point of time, we will talk about in detail about this Docker Swarm mode. So for the timing, it's another platform like container orchestration, but it is provided by Docker. Kubernetes is our open source, and it's a container. Sorry for the mistakes here for the type of container orchestration. So these are the things. Next topic is Kubernetes that we will talk in detail because DevOps main important tool right now is Kubernetes, and containers are managed by this platform. So it's a open source container orchestration platform that can be used to manage Docker containers as well at scale. So these are the advanced topic we are having that we should learn to skill up our Docker knowledge. Now, let's talk about some use cases. As you know, Docker is a powerful tool that can be used to simplify the development, deployment, and management of your application through container. So, what else we can do? We can use Docker to package and deploy a web application. So, we can package and deploy our web application. Next use cases is you can use Docker to create a development environment that is consistent across different developers. As we mentioned, that containers provide the consistent environment and are able to run on any platform. So this is the best use case we can say. Next use case is you can use Docker to deploy a microservices architecture. If you have gone through the container session, I have explained these are the famous or most common use cases of containers. Next use cases is you can use Docker to run a containerized application on the clouds. Yes, you can use Docker to run containers on the cloud platform. Whatever cloud you are using, you can use Docker. So these are the use cases of Docker. So guys, that's it in this video. Thanks for watching. In this video, we learned about components of Docker architecture. We learned about Docker client, engine, and Docker registry. Also, we learned about Docker files, containers, and how the images are created. So I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any question, then leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe this channel for more Docker tutorials and other DevOps tool content, and join this 100-day challenge if not yet started. So start from day one. And today we finished day 8. Thank you very much for your support. So see you tomorrow.